Hello friends, and thank you for joining me. Today we're going to take a look at the Singer model number 66. This particular machine was made in 1947 according to its serial number. And this video will show you a little tour of the machine, what part is what, and I also want to show you how to wind a bobbin in this video, as well as in videos 2 and 3 we're going to take a look at loading the bobbin and threading the machine, so then you can begin to sew. When I show you how to thread the bobbin, I will be demonstrating with Coats & Clark's thread. It's just their dual duty plus. These older machines tended to use the thread that were what we call stacked threads. The threads laid on top of one another horizontally, whereas some of our more modern threads are what we call cross-wrapped. If you want to use the cross-wrapped threads on this machine, I suggest that you go to the Featherweight shop. Just Google Featherweight shop online, and you'll be able to find a source where you can order not only for featherweights but other vintage machines. They do have a few parts, especially like for the 66s and the 99s. Of particular interest, what I would like for you to look at is, if you're using the cross-wound threads, is look for their thread adapter. It's a small plastic piece that stands on the vertical spool pin here, and it has a horizontal peg that you would then place your cross-wound threads on. The cross-wound threads just feed better horizontally. The vertical stacked threads, like you see here, or the stacked threads rather, will feed best for you from the vertical position. So if you tried to feed that cross-wound one from vertical, you may get some tangles and change in tension adjustment and things like that. So just keep that in mind. If you're using cross-wounds, seek out a adapter so that you can use that properly. So let's take a quick look at what we're looking at on the machine, and then I'll show you to wind the bobbin. On the right hand side of the machine, we have replaced the motor and foot controller of the machine, and we have removed its light. The original had been exposed to quite a bit of water and was rusted and was just beyond repair. And even if we had repaired it, we still would have had a very old motor and foot controller that could have gone out. So the most cost-effective method was this route. These particular parts can be found at sewingpartsonline.com, as well as other online retailers. The machine's foot controller does disconnect, so when it's in storage, you don't have to wrap this all around the head of the machine. You can disconnect it. The foot controller is on the floor right now, but you could wind that up, store it in this little extra box here, or wherever you're storing the machine, and not run the risk of scratching up the finish of the machine. When it is plugged into an active outlet in your home, it will be powered, so keep that in mind. If you have small kids or pets, if they were to sit on the foot control or mash it, it is going to run. On this end, we also will see that we have a hand wheel with a stop motion screw in it. We'll come back to that in a moment. Coming back around to the face of the machine, your bobbin winder is here just beside the hand wheel. Your stitch length regulator with the lever that will raise up and down. The lower you have it down, the longer your stitches. The higher you have it up, the higher the number, or the more stitches per inch. And at the very top, that will put the machine in reverse. So if you wish to back tack, that will do that. We have the thread spool pin coming to our first thread guide. Then we will see our upper tension unit, and I'm going to zoom in more to that for you now. And through your various thread guides, and coming on down to your presser foot here. It's a very simple machine, as you can see, but a very effective one. She's a real workhorse. On the top of the machine, you'll see a knob that has some knurled edges to it. It's set currently for just a cotton weight fabric. These machines really didn't feed knits because knits really weren't around at this time. So I don't know that it would be a great machine for knits, but if you did, this particular one has a low shank foot, So if you found a low shank walking foot with very, very narrow pads on it, you could use that and still possibly sew with some knit. So you would want that to be feeding evenly through the machine. So that's sort of an overall tour of it. And so now I'm going to put it back to where we can see it out a little bit further. Or rather, I'm going to move my camera to this angle, and we're going to start threading the machine. One of the first things we'll do when we're setting up to wind a bobbin is we'll want to disengage the clutch. If I were to start sewing right now, you'll notice that the needle will go continuously if I were to be stitching. I don't have the presser foot down, so I'm not going to be abrading the bottom of the presser foot. But if you'll watch as I sew, that needle bar is going up and down. When we're winding a bobbin, it's good to disengage that clutch so that the needle bar is not going up and down. Serves as a safety purpose to keep your fingers from getting sewn. So if you happen to forget it, just kind of come back to our video and watch. You'll see the hand wheel here on the side. Again, we mentioned we had this big stop motion screw. If you hold the outside of the hand wheel and turn this inner knob towards yourself, it loosened it up. And now when we put it back so that you can see it, the only thing turning is our hand wheel. So that's a very nice feature that we have here. Our newer, more modern machines typically disengage a clutch whenever you go into bobbin winding mode. Again, we're just using the old dual duty Coates & Clark. Again, because the reason it's a stacked thread, this particular one is polyester. I'm going to place it onto the spool pin with the thread coming off from the back. Now I will move the camera angle just a slight bit for you. We're going to go into this first guide right here. Come back to the right hand base of the machine, and we're going to come up through our thread guide like this. Zoom in so you can see that a little better. I've come in from the bottom right and come up through the top. The bobbins for this particular 66 do have the 4 holes in them. So we can see that here. This is a modern day packaging. This is what I picked up for this machine. I found this, I believe it was at Joann's or Hobby Lobby. You'll see it's Singer Class 66 bobbins with the 4 holes. Now, some of the earlier produced Singer 66 I have worked with, they don't really work well with the 4-hole bobbins. And the way that we can tell that is by the way that the bobbin winder mechanism is made. I'll try to zoom in pretty close to the bobbin winder on this one. We're kind of at a bad angle here, but I'll hold it for just a second. You probably can see on this little metal piece has a little tab that sticks out on it there, sort of almost like a pressure tab. Some of the really early 66s, excuse the camera shake here, I'm just going to get this camera a little bit more, or the phone a little bit more situated there. The really early Singer Model 66 is actually on this little portion here had a little tiny metal tab that poked out, and it would only grab the bobbin in that one hole. If we compare it to the newer style 66s, you'll see that 4-hole bobbin, that smallest hole, it's really hard to get this adjusted. Let's see if I can try it one more time here. That smallest hole is not as close to that inside of the opening as is this older style one, like this one right here. This is called a first generation Class 66 bobbin. Now on those machines that do have that little peg right here, these newer style ones just won't fit. So if you run into that, don't despair. There are various people that sell on eBay. There are some on Etsy. I think that's how you pronounce it, E-T-S-Y. And so if you needed that first generation bobbin, you would know to ask for a single hole class 66 bobbin. These can be a little bit pricey in my mind, but really considering you're dealing with a classic machine, these older ones are like $8 and up a piece is what I have found. The small, more new ones like this machine's going to take, like I say, are readily available. You can pick them up in packs of 4. Some online dealers have them in larger quantities. So this one we don't have to worry about which hole is going to match up with the tab on the bobbin winder. What I do want to do though is I'm taking this thread that we've put through this lower threading path, and I'm going to place it in one of the left-hand side holes. So it's coming out the left-hand side of the bobbin. We're going to place it on the bobbin winder spindle here. I'll try to get a little more light there for you. And I'm going to push this down, this black portion by the bobbin winder tire, and pull the bobbin winder mechanism over to hold it in place. I'm going to give the some pressure on the foot controller to start our machine, and it'll start, of course, kind of winding this up, and we'll break that off. You'll see it's feeding left to right to get a good feel on our bobbin. After a bit, if it didn't break, I can just stop and trim that off. Go ahead and line your bobbin to the fullness that you wish. Another reason I'm using the white thread on the bottom and a red in the top is so I can check my tension and know which thread might need an adjustment. This is as much thread as I want on this bobbin, so I will now take the silver tab here and push it away. It has relieved the bobbin winder tire from riding on the hand wheel. I will also touch the outside of the hand wheel, holding it in place, and turn the stop motion screw away from me until it's quite snug. I can remove the bobbin from the bobbin winding post. And now take the white thread off the machine, and we're going to show you how to load the bobbin in video 2, and then we will thread the machine. So this is the end of video 1. Keep here on the page and we'll show you video 2 in just a moment.